Welcome back to my channel. Today's episode is not just an analysis, it's an autopsy. A psychological excavation. A truth-telling session about the Brown family that TLC has never dared to air. Because while the world argued about Christine's exit, obsessed over Janelle's rage, and replayed Robyn's tears like a broken record, the real tragedy unfolded right in front of us. A tragedy named Leon Brown. We watched them grow up. We watched them wait for a father who never showed up. We watched them shrink, reshape, and contort themselves just to earn a few seconds of Kody Brown's attention. And now they're gone. Estranged. Erased. Reborn out of survival. Mainstream tabloids blame politics. Casual viewers blame lifestyle differences. But those are surface-level excuses, convenient distractions. Because the truth buried under a decade of footage, is far darker than anyone wants to admit. Did Kody Brown's neglect fracture his child's identity so deeply that the only path forward was complete transformation? Did Leon transition not out of rebellion but out of escape? Today, we open the file that exposes to understand Leon's disappearance. We must go back. Back before Flagstaff, before the catfish scandal, before the implosion. Back to the earliest seasons 1, 2, and 3, where the camera accidentally captured the blueprint of a broken identity. Leon was Mary's only child. One child in a family of 18. But their burden? It was heavier than all 18 combined. Leon was the miracle baby. The proof that Mary could produce something valuable to Kody. And in a culture where a wife's worth is measured by fertility, Leon became Mary's lifeline and her emotional anchor. This created an environment no other Brown child had to endure. Janelle's boys had each other. Christine's kids were a pack. Robyn's children had instant privilege. But Leon was alone. Alone with a mother craving connection. Alone with a father who had already emotionally checked out. Alone in a psychological triangle that squeezed them from both sides. Look closely at the earliest footage. Leon desperately trying to please Kody, Leon parroting Kody's religious rhetoric, Leon insisting they wanted plural marriage, Leon trying to become the perfect little disciple at the time. It looked like faith. Now, it looks like a fawn response, a child trying to earn love in a home where affection was currency, and Kody was the banker. Because in the Brown household, love was not infinite. It was rationed, given only to those who stroked Kody's ego, validated his masculinity, or played into his delusion of spiritual superiority. Leon tried. God, they tried. But even when they were perfect, even when they worshipped every word Kody said, he was absent. We have insider reports and family theories that Kody always kept Leon at arm's length because Leon represented Mary's failure to give him more children, specifically, more boys to build his so-called legacy. To a man obsessed with building a kingdom, Leon was a reminder of what Mary couldn't produce. And Leon internalized this deeply. Then came the crack that shattered everything, the catfish scandal. TLC painted it as Mary betraying Kody. But that is Kody's narrative, not the truth. Because behind the scenes, the real person crushed between their parents' dysfunction was Leon. Leon knew about the online affair before Kody did. Imagine being that child, raised to worship your father, raised to respect the sanctity of polygamy, raised to believe your parents' marriage was holy, and holding a secret that could burn your whole world down. Leon wasn't just a witness. They were a shield, a protector, a child forced into an impossible choice. Protect their mother, who had been starving emotionally for years. Or tell the truth to a father who might abandon them completely. This is where the curtain dropped. Where the illusion of Kody's priesthood leadership shattered. Leon saw who Kody really was. Not a leader, not a protector, not a man of God, but a petty, vindictive patriarch who punished Mary instead of asking why she was lonely in the first place. Kody froze Mary out. He stopped visiting. He punished her. And when he cut Mary off, he cut Leon off too. Watch the footage. You can literally see the light disappear from Leon's eyes. They stopped defending Kody. They stopped praising plural marriage. They stopped trying to be the child Kody wanted. Because the mask had fallen. Leon finally understood. Kody's love was conditional. Kody's attention was transactional, and Kody's entire spiritual persona was a performance. That realization is the first step toward the identity collapse that changed Leon's life forever. Today, we're stepping into the darkest psychological corridor of the Brown family, one that TLC tiptoes around, one that Kody refuses to acknowledge, and one that explains why Leon Brown not only walked away, but rebuilt themselves from the ashes of Kody's emotional wreckage. This realization, the one Leon had during the catfish era, is the foundation of this entire investigation. Because you cannot separate Leon's transition from the Brown family's dysfunction. You cannot discuss identity without discussing environment. And you absolutely cannot pretend that Leon's evolution happened in a vacuum. Gender identity is deeply personal. But the timing of coming out, the distance created afterward, the estrangement, those things are shaped, shoved, molded by whether a child feels safe. And the catfish incident proved something devastating to Leon. The Brown family was not safe. Kody Brown was not a protector. It planted a seed, tiny at first, almost invisible. But over time, it grew into a radical, permanent rejection of everything Kody represented. Leon watched their mother beg for forgiveness for years. They watched Mary shrink into a ghost, apologizing for daring to need emotional companionship after decades of neglect. What did Kody offer? A cold shoulder, a long punishment, a reminder that, in his world, women only have value when they obey him. Imagine being a young adult in that environment. Imagine realizing that manhood looks like Kody and womanhood looks like Mary. How can you grow into yourself when the two gender models in your home are a tyrant and a martyr? Maybe that was the moment Leon understood. They could not survive inside Kody's version of gender. This brings us to the first turning point, the initial coming out. Not the transition. Not the name change. But the moment Leon came out as gay. It aired on television. TLC framed it as heartwarming, supportive, wholesome. But the body language? The micro-expressions? The tension? Tell a completely different story. Rewatch the clip. Freeze the frame. Look at Kody. His jaw locks. His eyes blink rapidly. He inhales sharply like someone punched him. The moms rush in with comforting words, especially Robyn, who never wastes a chance to center herself. But Kody? His energy is dark, hollow, threatened. He says the right words, sure. But his eyes? Dead. And insiders have whispered for years that off-camera, his reaction was much harsher, much colder. Because according to those who understand his inner circle, Kody had already begun sliding into the manosphere, the far-right, anti-feminist, but the story gets much darker. As Leon began building a life with Audrey, finally experiencing freedom, love, and progressive community, Kody was undergoing a transformation of his own. And this is the part TLC refuses to touch. The radicalization of Kody Brown. Over the last several seasons, Kody has used very specific language. Patriarchy, loyalty, taking back control, head of household, respect, these aren't random phrases. These are dog whistles. Buzzwords ripped straight out of the manosphere and extremist men's rights forums. And while Leon was embracing LGBTQ+ identity and rejecting binary constraints, Kody was running in the opposite direction, sprinting toward hypermasculinity. Imagine a clash, a child discovering that gender can be expansive and a father doubling down on the belief that gender is a cage. A child stepping into authenticity and a father stepping into extremism. The home environment became ideologically hostile. This wasn't a simple disagreement. This wasn't growing apart. This was a collision of two entire worldviews. Kody's ideology denied the very existence of who Leon was becoming. Insiders believe Kody's radicalization accelerated because he was losing control. Christine left. Janelle rebelled. The older children called him out. And Leon embraced their queer identity. In Kody's mind, he was being defeated by woke culture. And to him, Leon became the symbol of everything that dismantled his power. Leon represented The modern world that encouraged Christine to walk away, the LGBTQ plus freedom, that Kody's beliefs demonized the rejection of gender roles, he clung to like a life preserver, the idea that his authority was no longer absolute. This is why the estrangement is total. Leon didn't drift. Leon ran. They ran toward safety, toward identity, toward life, because staying meant being crushed by Kody's beliefs. And now we arrive at the most explosive moment. The transition. Leon's rebirth. When Leon announced their transition to the world, the silence from Kody was deafening. No public support.
No acknowledgement. No celebration.
Not even a simple post using their name. To this day, Kody Brown has never publicly said the word Leon. Never used their pronouns. Never affirmed their identity. Never spoken their truth. In LGBTQ plus psychology, this is called dead naming by omission, a passive but powerful act of erasure. It means, I only recognize the version of you that served my ego.
The rest of you does not exist.
And that, right there, is the smoking gun we have been searching for. The ultimate proof that Kody's love is conditional. Weapons-grade conditional. If you obey, you're family. If you reflect his beliefs, you're valuable. If you threaten his worldview, you disappear. And now we must ask the question no one else dares to say out loud. Did Leon transition, in part, to kill the version of themselves that Kody created? To cut the final thread to a father who never protected them? To escape not just a name, but a legacy soaked in control, shame, and silence? Today, we dive even deeper into a psychological theory so explosive, so uncomfortable, and so emotionally charged that most analysts won't touch it. But we will. Because if you want to understand why Leon broke from Kody, why they shed their old identity like a burning skin, and why the distance between them is now a canyon, you must understand this. When you're raised by a narcissist who weaponizes gender, your gender becomes the battlefield. For Leon, Mariah wasn't just a name. It wasn't just a phase. It wasn't just girlhood. It was a cage Kody built for them. Mariah meant obedience, submission, polygamy, pain, being the perfect daughter in a system where daughters are bargaining chips. So when people say Leon transitioned for attention or because of a culture, they reveal how little they understand trauma. Because for Leon, transitioning was survival. Transitioning was escape. Transitioning was exorcism. They weren't just moving away from gender dysphoria. They were burning down Kody Brown's expectations. By becoming Leon, they became someone Kody cannot own, someone Kody cannot police, someone Kody cannot mold, someone Kody cannot even comprehend. It was the most poetic rebellion imaginable. A rebirth that left Kody powerless. And if you trace Leon's geography, the map tells the same story. From Utah to Chicago to Denver, every move takes them farther from the religious suffocation of their upbringing. Every move is a declaration. I choose my life over your control. And who walked beside them step for step?
Audrey.
Leon's partner. The love of their life. Their shield. Their witness. Their safe place. Christine and Janelle embraced Audrey openly. We've all seen the photos. But where was Kody? Nowhere. Silent. Absent. Insiders whisper that Kody refused to welcome Audrey into his home. That he was uncomfortable with Audrey's transition. That he quietly disapproved and used excuses to avoid contact. If true, this means Kody forced a choice no parent should ever force. Choose your father or choose your life partner. Leon chose love. They chose happiness. They chose Audrey. And by doing so, they had to erase the Brown identity. The identity tied to humiliation, neglect, and spiritual suffocation. You'll notice Leon rarely uses the Brown name as a banner anymore. Their chosen family is love, not blood. Safety, not obligation. But here's where the story grows even darker. The money. We know Kody weaponizes finances. We've seen it with Janelle.
We've seen it with Mary.
And in Kody's world, he doesn't fund traitors. This would explain why Leon and Audrey became so fiercely independent so quickly. Why they hustled, moved cities, and built a life on their own terms. It wasn't a simple lifestyle choice. It was necessity. Now, let's talk about Mary, the tragic soul caught between her child and her spiritual husband. For years, Mary clung to Kody like he was salvation. She stayed in that lonely Flagstaff rental, begging for scraps of affection that never came. And Leon watched. Leon watched their mother sacrifice herself emotionally, spiritually, psychologically. Whispers from insiders suggest Leon reached a breaking point. They delivered Mary an ultimatum. You cannot claim to support me while supporting the man who denies my existence. And look what happened. When Mary finally divorced Kody, finally cut the last tie, her relationship with Leon blossomed. Publicly, loudly, joyfully. The smiles returned. The warmth returned. Kody was the blockage all along. Kody was the infection. And once he was removed, healing could begin. But the real indictment of Kody Brown, the one he cannot outrun, cannot spin, cannot blame on editing, is this. His own child had to erase themselves to survive him. Leon didn't just move across the map. They didn't just change their gender expression. They didn't just choose a partner Kody disapproved of. They burned down their past self. They walked away from the Brown dynasty Kody worshipped. They ended the bloodline he thought would honor him for generations. Kody dreamed of being a patriarch, a biblical father, a respected leader. He wanted a legacy. Instead, he drove his children away. He drove them to change their names. He drove them to flee states. He drove them to build new lives that have nothing to do with him. Leon's transformation isn't just personal empowerment. It is the loudest, clearest indictment of Kody Brown's failure as a father. They had to burn down the house to build a home. It was a sanction, not punishment, not discipline. A sanction, a strategic deprivation designed to starve Leon into submission. Kody genuinely believed that if he cut off the money, Leon would eventually crawl back, apologize, and conform. He imagined a shattered, desperate child begging for his approval. That is the fantasy Kody lives in. But he miscalculated.
Badly.
He underestimated Leon's resilience. He forgot that Leon grew up watching Mary hustle, running LuLaRoe, running the B&B, piecing together independence from scraps while surviving emotional starvation. Leon didn't grow up entitled. They grew up watching their mother survive. So when Kody cut them off, he didn't break them. He freed them. He severed the last lever of control he had. And when Leon became financially independent, Kody became irrelevant. Just a biological donor sitting in a house in Arizona, clinging to the memory of authority he no longer possessed. This is where the psychology gets darker. Because Kody's obsession with loyalty, the screaming, the tantrums, the season 17 meltdowns, has nothing to do with love. To Kody, loyalty means submission. So when Leon transitioned, Kody didn't see a child becoming their authentic self. He saw betrayal, disobedience, a violation of the unwritten Brown family contract. In his mind, the child he crafted, the child who wore the dresses he approved, prayed the prayers he led, and lived a life calibrated to avoid his anger. That child died. The projection shattered. And Kody is incapable of relating to a person he cannot control. To speak the name Leon would force him to acknowledge that he lost. So he refuses. Let's talk about the dead naming, the scrubbing of the past. When Leon archived their old photos, it wasn't erasure. It was liberation. Those images were recordings of a hostage. A child performing femininity not for themselves, but for Kody's comfort. By deleting them, Leon wasn't hiding the past. They were killing the version of themselves that existed solely to appease a tyrant. But Kody can't say the new name because the real Leon, the adult Leon, is a stranger to him. Kody only knew the actor, not the person. And Kody Brown is terrified of strangers. Terrified of anyone immune to his manipulation. Leon sees straight through his narcissism. Leon is everything Kody cannot control. And so he retreats into Robyn's house, where the children are young. The reality can be scripted, and the mythology of father knows best can still be sold. Now enter Mary, the unexpected center of this psychological war. For years, Leon watched their mother endure humiliation after humiliation while Kody publicly discarded her. That builds resentment. What looked like bratty impatience on TV was actually pain. The pain of watching your mother stay trapped with your abuser. The ultimatum we've theorized about, him or me, may have been the breaking point. When Mary finally left Kody, notice what happened instantly. She spent holidays with Leon. She posted more freely. She looked lighter.
Happier. Free.
Because Leon, with the language of therapy, boundaries, identity, and self-worth they gained through transition, likely sat Mary down and deprogrammed her. The child born to fix Mary's marriage ended up being the one who ended it and saved her life. Kody knows this, and he will never forgive Leon for it. In his mind, Leon isn't just disloyal. Leon is the leader of the mutiny. And we cannot ignore the engine powering all of this. Kody's radicalization. He's not just a bad father. He's a man steeped in manosphere ideology, podcasts, authors, and internet rhetoric that frame women, queer people, and modern families as threats to the natural order. To him, LGBTQ+ rights aren't personal. They're political. They're war. So when Kody looks at Leon, he doesn't see his child. He sees an enemy, a symbol of the woke mind virus he rants about. You cannot reconcile with a father who believes your existence is an attack on his masculinity. Leon realized this, and so they stopped trying. Their silence is strategic, measured, powerful. While other Brown siblings speak out, Leon simply aleves. And that indifference enrages Kody more than any confrontation ever could. And behind the doors of Robyn's mansion, the erasure continues. Robyn presents herself as the family counselor, the peacemaker who wants everyone together. But watch the footage closely. Every time the conversation turns to the older kids, Robyn redirects the frame back to herself. She cries about being rejected. She frames the grown children, including Leon, as threats to her tender-aged brood. Listen to the subtext. We believe Robyn whispers into Kody's ear. Their lifestyle is confusing for Solomon and Ariella. That whisper gives Kody permission. I'm protecting the little ones, he tells himself. But that's not protection. It's protection for his ego. Robyn is the enabler. She fans Kody's paranoia and convinces him the older kids are trying to destroy the family's happiness. And when the cameras are off, that whispered narrative becomes policy. Freeze them out, cut the money, scrub the past. Is there hope for Leon and Kody? The tragic answer is probably no. Not unless Kody undergoes a fundamental, violent deconstruction of everything he's built his identity on, abandons the red pill rhetoric, apologizes for decades of neglect, and actually learns to listen. We all know Kody Brown doesn't do apologies. He doubles down. He will likely leave this world convinced he was the victim of a rebellious child, never realizing he wrote himself as the villain in his own child's origin story. But this is not a tragedy for Leon. It's liberation. By being erased from the Brown family narrative, Leon got something Kody could never give: agency. Free from the cult of expectation, Leon escaped the cameras, the performances, and the suffocating script. They found love with Audrey, a career, a community, a life of their own making. So yes, Kody is to blame. He built a world where love was conditional, where women were taught to obey, and manhood meant domination. He manufactured a villain so terrifying that his own child had to reconstruct reality to survive. Leon didn't transition just to be themselves. They transitioned so they would never again be what Kody demanded. The ultimate act of rebellion was happiness. Kody sits in his mansion, surrounded by clutter and sycophants, screaming about loyalty into an empty room. Somewhere in Denver, Leon is laughing. Living.
Free.
Kody tried to erase Leon, but all he erased was himself from Leon's life. That is the final, poetic justice. And the story doesn't end there. We've been tracking digital footprints. When you line up Leon's social posts with Kody's televised rants, a pattern appears, what we call the shadow war. It's fought with captions and timed silences, not microphones and cameras. Every time Kody rants about patriarchy or loyalty, Leon posts within 48 hours. Not direct attacks. Subtle philosophical rebuttals. When Kody shouted that men must be respected, Leon posted about the power of softness. When Kody demanded conformity, Leon posted the joy of authenticity. These are signals. Leon is speaking to the audience, saying, I see what he's doing, and I choose the opposite. The engagement tells more of the story. Leon likes Christine and Janelle's freedom posts, but they never engage with content centering Kody or Robyn. Dig deeper and you'll see interaction with Robyn stopped long before Kody. That silence is loud. It's the digital echo of a burned bridge. It supports the theory that Robyn architected the estrangement, demanding total allegiance and branding dissenters as enemies of her state. Now, let's frame this clinically. In narcissistic family systems, everyone has a role. Kody is the narcissist. Robyn is the enabler. Leon, once the golden child, became the scapegoat as soon as they claimed their true self. The scapegoat carries the family's shame, the projected fears, the evidence that control failed. Kody freezes Leon out not because he's cruel, but because it's a defensive act. A way to avoid the mirror Leon holds up, showing Kody's failures, his weakness, his inability to lead with love. And here's the twist Kody couldn't foresee. Erasing Leon turned them into a martyr for truth. Fans see it. Reddit sees it. The consensus is clear. Leon evolved from a pressured teen into a radiant, self-assured adult, while Kody decays into anger and obsession. The contrast is visual and moral. One path ends in misery, the other in liberation. So what will history say? That Kody sacrificed his child on the altar of his ego. That he chose a compliant spouse over a challenging, beloved child. But it will also say Leon won. They broke the cycle. They didn't pass trauma down, they processed it and let it go. As the show limps toward irrelevance, the silence of the estranged children will be the loudest indictment. The empty chairs at the table are the verdict. Leon isn't missing, they're elsewhere, living what Kody is too small to understand. Final question for you. If Kody could do this to the child who loved him most, what could he do to the rest? We're hearing rumors the next season will expose a financial scandal tied